owning 25% of Microsoft, you'd be able to exert some influence. So because we can exert some influence, what that really says is, because we can exert the equity, the influence and kind of drive decisions in a company, then we really have to follow the equity method of accounting, which really looks a lot like accrual-based accounting. That's the way you should look at it, and that's the way you should think about it. So that means we recognize revenue as it's earned, and expenses. Well, Jody, in this case, if you have that kind of influence, it's more than just voting. Yes, they would have the voting ability for their in my example, my 25%. But if you're that kind of stockholder in an entity like Microsoft or Starbucks or some other big company like that, you probably have very direct access to the people running the company on a day-to-day basis. So you can be even more influential than just your votes in that realm. So it means that we follow the equity method of accounting, which again, it reminds us, we're thinking about equity-based or equity and or accrual-based accounting. Think about revenue recognition, recognizing revenue as it's earned, recognizing expenses as they're incurred. So it's definitely going to look and feel a lot like what we do for a normal activity. So equity method, again, assumes that you're holding somewhere between 20 and 50% of the outstanding stock of a company, because we're talking about equity, which implies stock. So we're going to record the investment at cost, and then we're subsequently going to adjust the amount of our investment based on our proportional share of the earnings and any dividends received by the investor. So this is where it looks and feels a little bit different than what we might have anticipated. So in this example, what you'll notice is, the right side is the equity method of accounting, the left side is the fair value method. And so what you'll notice first is we're going to focus on the fair value. So this is what we talked about last week, where we recognize the investment at cost, and then as time changes or as life goes on, we have to revalue based on fair value at the end of the balance sheet date. So it looks and feels a lot like we're recognizing the changes in the value of that investment that aren't real, they aren't realized, they're unrealized, because we're just looking at the change of market. So we're not exchanging cash, and that's why we had it in a contra account. And for the most part, if it was classified as available for sale, we had it sitting in other comprehensive income in the stockholders' equity section. But when we look and feel like the equity method of accounting, what that really means is that we have to make that investment number change as the entity that we own stock in changes. So what it does is it has kind of a parent subsidiary or parent-child relationship. The investor ends up, it kind of has that feel, but keeping in mind that if we own more than 50%, we're truly parent, subsidiary, or child, which means we're going to do consolidated financial statements. We're not going to touch on consolidated financial statements here, other than to tell you if you hold more than 50% of the outstanding stock, then you have to produce consolidated financial statements. That's a topic for an advanced accounting course, not our final week here. So we want to expose you to that, let you know it exists, because we talked about less than 20 last week. Now we're talking about 20 to 50, and then in an advanced accounting class, you'll talk about that greater than 50%. Okay, so when we talked about last week, we talked about the fair value option, and that meant that we were really truly looking at a specific balance sheet date and saying, how did this investment change? Did the stock go up or down? Did the bond price go up or down? And as such, any of those changes we recognized at the balance sheet date, so that we ensured that our investment account wasn't overstated. It was appropriately stated given the current market environment that those stocks or bonds resided in. So when we talk about fair value option, that really is what we talked about last week. So when we talked about available for sale securities, we're relatively familiar with that in the fact that if we have available for sale securities, when we make when we go to the balance sheet date, we have to look at, here's what the original investment cost us, here's what the current value of the investment is as of this balance sheet date, and then take any change in that value as an unrealized holding gain or loss. So again, this should not be a surprise. This is something we're very familiar with given our discussions last week. What changes with the equity method of accounting is now if we own more than 20% but less than 50, as the company realizes net income or net losses, we also will record that net income or net loss in our investment account as it relates to our proportional share. So under the fair value option, we looked at just the change in our investment period over period. Under the equity method of accounting, this one talks about the fair value method where, in this illustration, Sullivan Company holds 28% of stake in Supon. Sullivan purchased the investment for $930,000. At December 31st, the investment was worth $900,000. So if we were using the fair value option, we would have recognized an unrealized loss of $30,000 against the investment. That's what would have happened had we been using the fair value option. But what we're going to find is that the equity method of accounting requires a little bit different approach. So we kind of want to lay the groundwork, if you will. So when we think about investments, we can also think about in terms of change in value, but also think in terms of impairment. And so you might think of these synonymously because they're both degrading the value if the value changes. But what we really just want to do is take a second look at our investment after we do the valuation changes and say, hey, has it suffered a loss in value that's other than temporary, or is there a realized loss that is included in net income? And so what the impairment value, or what the additional focus of impairment is that we just want to make sure that with any investment we're not carrying a value on the books greater than the value of the investment. This is one of the few areas in accounting where we actually do look at the current environment and try to understand the implications to our balance sheet. Where when we talked about like property, plant, and equipment or fixed assets, we recorded things at historical cost and moved on. This is different because there's actually a readily tradable, available market price for most stocks and bonds. If you go out to the current New York Stock Exchange or Wall Street Journal, you can usually find those, or quite honestly, go online and you can find those current values. So in this example, we have Strickler Company holds an available for sale bond security with a par value and amortized cost of $1 million. So think about, for example, this bond investment being held to maturity because we're amortizing cost. If all of a sudden we find that there's been a significant change in the value of that investment, we really need to recognize the loss of that impairment or the change in that investment because of the other than temporary loss. And so in this example, the fair value of the investment is only $800,000 against our $1 million sitting on the books. We really do need to recognize a $200,000 impairment, which is pretty significant. I mean, you're talking about 20% of the investment has degraded, and that's where you would just recognize a debit to loss on impairment and a credit to the debt investment to reduce it to that current value. Reclassification adjustments. So think about reclassification adjustments. In this example, when we have a reporting of changes in unrealized gain or losses is usually straightforward unless a company sells securities during the year. So when we have movement, our conversation last week, we focused on reclassifying a stock as available for sale versus into trading or vice versa. The idea is that when we make those adjustments, we're going to have a reclassification entry to make sure that we have the current value on that reclassification date. So if you had something that, like a debt bond that was held to maturity and your intent and ability changed and now we had to reclassify it as available for sale, that's where you'd see something like a reclassification adjustment occur. So this is an example. It happens to be stock related, but Open Company has the following two available for sale securities in its portfolio. They got a $200,000 original cost. The current value is $240,000, and so they had an unrealized gain in this instance of $40,000. That we understand. But then they decided that if Open Company reports net income of $350,000, it presents a statement of comprehensive income as follows, because it's going to have our $40,000 of unrealized gain, since this is available for sale, in the other comprehensive income section of our stockholders' equity section. Let's say that during 2014, Open Company sold Lehman Inc. Company stock for $105,000, realized a gain at the point of sale of $25,000. At the end of 2014, the fair value of Woods common stock has increased an additional $20,000, so it's increased to $35,000. Keep in mind, we still have to take into consideration the balance in our fair value adjustment account, and that's what you see illustrated here. But in this case, we're going to recognize a credit because we have our current balance in that account is $40,000, and we actually only want it to be $35,000. Oh, I'm sorry, Danielle. They're building a home right next to me, and I think I'm having some interference with the equipment. So my apologies. I think it's the equipment working next door that's making me break up. Sorry about that. For now, exactly. Okay. My apologies for that. I was hoping they'd be done by the time our class started, and it doesn't look to be that. It looks like they plan to be staking out there for a while. If we assume that Open Company reports net income of $720,000 in 2014, and here you'll notice that now that other comprehensive income statement, we have the $5,000 credit balance sitting there. Oh, okay. Windy's not good, but it's not windy here, it's just construction. Sadly.
Damn, son! Wow.
So when we move things between categories, our focus when we moved last week between categories was looking at really when we moved we were using fair value option under both trading and available for sale securities. But now what was happening is the difference was moving between the category of either the current period's net income or it was moving over to the other comprehensive income area. So something that we're very familiar with given our conversations last week. If we then transfer between available for sale to or held to maturity to available for sale or vice versa, here again we just want to be clear about when we make that decision and the impacts that it's going to have on the respective balance sheet and therefore potentially net income. So most likely you'll find that from held to maturity to the bond activity is generally not moving around. It's usually stocks that move around between classifications rather than bonds, at least in practice. So when you think about some of the similarities with respect to GAAP and IFRS, GAAP and IFRS are similar classifications for trading investments. The accounting for trading investments is the same under GAAP and IFRS for held to maturity or held to collection as it's called in IFRS. That means that we're talking about debt bonds that are held to maturity. Both IFRS and GAAP use the same test to determine whether the equity method of accounting should be used, which means more than 20% but less than 50%. So kind of just keep that in mind. GAAP and IFRS are similar in the accounting for fair value option. So when we do the balance sheet date reconciliation, if you will, and we look at our current value on the books and we compare that to the current market, we just want to make sure that we are taking the unrealized gain or loss at the appropriate time and based on the appropriate numbers. And the measure for impairments is similar under GAAP and IFRS, which is nice because then we don't have to think about anything different. Certainly, there's differences in respect to GAAP and IFRS. GAAP classifies investments as trading, available for sale, and held to maturity. IFRS uses held to collection or non-trading. That's the extent of it. The basis for consolidation under IFRS is control. So under GAAP, I love this, a bipolar approach is used, which is a risk and reward model and voting interest. However, under both systems, for consolidation to occur, the investor company must generally own more than 50% of the company. And so in GAAP, it's pretty cut and dry. If more than 50%, you're consolidating. IFRS gives you some wiggle room. Uh-oh, Crystal's getting bounced out again. I started talking really fast because I got nervous about bouncing out. So differences, again, with respect to measurement of impairment is similar under GAAP and IFRS, but GAAP does not permit the reversal of impairment, where IFRS does, and that, I quite honestly, is probably one of the things that bothers me with IFRS is you can reverse write-downs. In GAAP, you've never been able to reverse a write-down. So it's very conservative. Yes, I admit that. Most accountants by nature are conservative. I admit that too. So when we see this ability to write things back on or put things back on the books, it makes us people that have grown up in GAAP nervous. So I'll just be upfront about my feelings, my personal feelings. While GAAP and IFRS are similar in accounting for fair value option, the big difference in GAAP permits the fair value option for equity method of accounting, where IFRS does not. And so if you own between 20 and 50%, your best approach is to follow the equity method of accounting. And that means, as you're going to see in your examples in the textbook that does it, they actually do a really good job, is that, let's say I own 25% of a company. So I own 25% of the outstanding shares of a company, and this year they make $100,000 in net income. So that means, in my example, I'm going to recognize at the end of the year, I'm going to increase my investment by $25,000. Because I'm going to say, company ABC earned $100,000, I own 25% of that company, therefore, as I said, it's an accrual-based accounting approach, I'm going to recognize 25% of that net income. So my investment will increase by 25%. Even though I'm not saying I'm getting dividends, I'm just saying because I use the equity method of accounting, I'm required to have my investment account change, ebb and flow with the investee. As they make money, I should increase my investment value. As they lose money, I should decrease my investment value. If the company decides to declare dividends, say an example, ABC company declares $50,000 in dividends. I own 25% of the outstanding shares, so I'm going to get 25% of the $50,000, or in this case, $12,500. If that's the case, if I receive $12,500, I'm going to debit cash because I just received those dividends, and I'm actually going to credit the investment. I'm going to reduce the value of the investment because what are dividends? They're giving you back part of the equity of the company. So if I have an investment that I am classifying as an equity investment and using equity accounting, I have to watch those ebbs and flow of my investment change with my percentage of ownership. Does that example kind of help illustrate some of my comments about equity method of accounting? I want to pause for a minute and make sure my examples make sense. Excellent. Love it. Excellent. Love it. Thank you. I swear I tried. I'm not always successful all the time, but I think if you think about it from that perspective and think about equity-based similar to accrual-based accounting, it links the commonality, it links what we already know. We already know about revenue recognition policy, matching principle. We understand those concepts, and in this scenario, if we apply them to the concept of equity method of accounting, it'll make that connection understandable for those of us who have become ingrained in these. Cynthia, I don't have a specific slide that I'm referring to, but because the author didn't have one in there, but I wanted to make sure that I used an example that ideally helped make sense. If it's confusing at all, or as you get into the homework it starts to be confusing, I'm an email away. I know we're finishing up. We're going to finish up pretty quick here. I'm home this weekend. I'll be available. I'll be checking in the morning and checking in the evening to make sure that I check emails. I'll be home tomorrow, so make sure that all I ask is don't wait until Tuesday evening. I'm actually on campus locally on Tuesday evenings, which means I don't have enough time to get back to you. Excellent. Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, so my apologies for talking so fast. I started getting nervous as I kept getting bounced out as we as we started our seminar. So my intent was not to talk as fast as I could. I just happened to do that so that I didn't lose connectivity. So hopefully that'll buy you some, I'm going to give you the gift of some additional time back to you this evening. Some of you will appreciate that, especially if you're on the East Coast, because it's much later for you. Those of us on the West Coast, maybe it's an early dinner or earlier dinner. So definitely, you're welcome, Christopher. So I also appreciate your guys' patience with my sense of humor. I tend to like to have fun while I'm teaching, or I don't want to do it. So I can also be a little bit of a smart aleck. So I'm glad you guys can appreciate that. Oh, rest up, Kirsten. Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Amanda. Absolutely, I absolutely echo Heidi's thoughts. I hope that you all, I wish you lots of success in your next coursework, because you may run into me again, so don't be surprised. I love that, Crystal. Yes, I might see a couple of you in auditing. I don't have my list yet, so I'm glad. Oh, Rhonda too. Excellent. Love it. And I teach auditing on Sunday evenings, so same time as this, but on Sunday evenings instead, which I actually wish it was a little bit earlier in the week, but, oh, excellent. I love it. There'll be several of you. Well, that'll be good. I love having students I've already met before. Oh, Chelsea, her name is Mabel. She's 9 months, 38 pounds. I think she's going to be about 50 pounds when she's full grown. So she's pretty darn entertaining for sure. Oh, excellent. Chubbs, I love that name. And Tyson. Oh, whoa, those are some big boys. I love it. Yeah, I actually got a girl so that she would ideally stay smaller. Oh, wow, Phoebe, good luck with your move. Just let me know if anything comes up. Yeah, so Mabel's dad was 85 pounds and her mom was 45, so I'm hoping that she'll be close to 50. But she's got some pretty herkin paws. Thanks, Chelsea. You have to give your bullies hugs for me. I love the breed. Thanks, Anne. Thanks for being here. We'll see you in the discussion forum. Night, John. Night, Brittany. You're most welcome. You too, Rose. You too, Tyrone. I'm glad I'll see so many of you next term. That'll be great. Have a great evening, great weekend. Get out in the discussion forum, post early, post often. And again, I'm so glad I'm going to see so many of you next term. That's exciting. You too, Jessica. Thank you. Night all.
Well, I'm still ahead of my PB,
Yeah, what's
but
up,
this split's absolutely
Australia?
disgraceful. I lost time. What a fucking joke. Step up your game, RPG. What the fuck was that? Fucking abomination. Fucking garbage, man. Get that fucking shit out of here and get a fucking green split. Fucking this half-stepping motherfucking, fucking losing time splits, man. What the fuck? Damn, son, the quad. Rolling deep with that fresh new gold split. I'm rolling deeper than I've ever rolled before on this motherfucking split. Rolling way deep, my sons. Whoa! It's the keys are too fucking sticky, man. Like, if you push something way before you do it, it does it. And I don't know if that's an emulator problem or just straight up how it is. Fuck me! Just fuck me all up, man. Oh my god. Why the fuck would that not happen either, you know? Why the fuck not? Why the fuck would we not just lose a minute on top of another minute on top of another minute on top of another minute? Why Rolling deep with the green split. I'm all about the green stuff, and this looks like somewhat of an okay run. Rolling deep. Rolling deep with the green split. I'm all about the green stuff, and this looks like somewhat of an okay run. Rolling deep. held it down, stayed legit, and proved my personal best on this rolling deep run. So shout outs to all the fly ladies and all the bitch niggas that I cut with this motherfucking run, because it was motherfucking legit. And you're about to hear some rolling deep victory shout outs live. Yeah, what's good, Real J Hawk? I thought your account, or you deleted your account for good or some shit. But welcome back. Yeah, I got my account back because I emailed them, and they gave me the passwords. Alright, so that was the world record by about 1 minute and 2 seconds, approximately. I say approximately because I converted from the JP timing, but yeah, I made plenty of mistakes, so, there's still a good 3 or so minutes to save, so, and I think I knew that. I think I knew that I could get a 111. I knew I could get a 111, so it's not like it's anything new to me, but, for other people, obviously, because nobody else has played the game and has no idea what's going on, I could save somewhere around 3 to 4 minutes, or somewhere in between there, 3 to 4 minutes off of this run, because there was a good handful of mistakes. I died a handful of times. I made a few evolutions that led to a game over, and right at the end, my experience management wasn't very good at the end, and I definitely lost a bit of time there. But this is actually the best run I've ever done of this game, which is impressive because I thought there was just a bunch of mistakes, but it turned out that yeah, I got, well, you might be able to get a sub 110 with like perfect gameplay, but the problem with that is the keyboard that you use, it eats your inputs, and it's a delayed input kind of thing. So if you push a button, when you're not on the screen, you'll actually do that movement when you get there. So it's just, the movement is really bad, and I mean, it's just really difficult. So next up, I guess I'm good with that. I will be completing a couple runs of no save manipulation, because this was a save manipulation run where you can save and get the enemies out of the way. A run of that will take probably over 2 hours, so I don't know. I'll be able to do that tonight, but I'm going to just chill out for a minute and come back, and I'll probably do a run of that tonight, and I'm gonna try to do a run of both JP, RTA, and any percent. This was an any percent run, and it is better than my JRP run slightly, and it's because I think I saved so much time on the fish level, and there's a few other things, and just I don't know, but there's definitely a few minutes of mistakes. So I mean, if you want to try cutting my world record, I'd love to see it, but I doubt that anybody's gonna be playing this game because there's no English translation for this game. There is no way to play this game in English. You have to play it in Japanese, which I casually played it first, and I kind of figured out stuff, and I don't truly know all the values either to the game, like who you need to talk to certain trigger certain events. Like at the beginning of the game, I talked to all the fish because I don't know exactly what triggers that. I think that's what it is, and I probably talked to some extra stuff there, and then like the Triceratops, I talked to all of them. I'm pretty sure you only talked to one of them, but when I tried talking to one of them last time, it wasn't the right one, and then I came back, it was just a big mess, and it's completely screwed one of my runs. So there's that explanation there. I will be coming back and hopefully completing a couple of no save manipulation runs, which means I can't use the bottom second to last and option above that in the menu, which is so save and load, because that despawns the enemies, which is kind of like the glitch in this game, I guess you could say. So I'll be doing runs without that, and that's the only other category I can really think of this game, since there hasn't been any glitches discovered other than what it's already built in the game, which is the save manipulation, despawning and loading. So there's that, and then after that, I plan to learn some Super Bomberman 2, and of course we've got the Rollin' Deep SNES Superstars Marathon, which I'll be doing on 320, and I'll be doing Super Bomberman and Evo Search for Eden in the marathon, and I'll probably be having to be doing commentary for most of that because nobody really understands that. So I'll try to play the game well and do some good commentary on that. A week or two before So like, the month, pretty much when the month of March starts here, I will be doing some Super Bomberman and EVO Search for Eden stuff there. And Super Bomberman 2 runs on the side, trying to maybe plug the ice, or cut the ice plug. But yeah, we're rolling out after that. I'll be rolling back in, like I said, with no save manipulation runs. So there you go.